Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Bit Spursy. We've been off the video waves for a little bit. The last few episodes have been audio only, but if you are listening to this, you can watch this episode on YouTube. And I'm here with a special guest. I have Adam Campbell, a fellow Spurs fan from Melbourne, although originally not from Melbourne. Adam.
No, actually, about maybe like half an hour to an hour away from where the Spurs Stadium is.
Right. So I never actually knew this, but you're very local then to the club.
Yeah. I'm from a part of England called East Hertfordshire. So that part of England, which is southeast, you're either a Spurs fan or an Arsenal fan. There's a few rogue West Ham fans, but we ignore them. And that's it. That's how it's divided in that part of England. So yeah, I'm only like an hour away from the actual stadium itself. So yeah, quite so very local.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. This shows like, apologies for the lack of research I've clearly done on your background here, but like that's pretty amazing. Did you go to a lot of games when you were living in the UK?
So I went to a few. The first one I ever went to was Spurs were playing Wimbledon. This is at the old stadium. Now this would have been about 1996, I think, and Vinnie Jones was still playing for Wimbledon. So, so he was still playing, and I remember this really clearly. Is that the ref blew the whistle to start the game, and then 5 minutes later he blew the whistle and he booked Vinnie Jones. He'd like hacked someone down. But yeah, so since then I've that was the first game I ever went to. Now I've been to a few others in that time as well. So, and every time I return back to England, I always go and see a Spurs game. Yeah, so my dad is actually a Manchester United fan. So,
all right.
So, and I ended up just being a Spurs fan, just through friends really, and then like Teddy Sheringham being the big one to win me over. But I did try. We tried to go as many times as we could, but yeah, it wasn't always easy to go. And also back then, when I was a kid, Spurs weren't amazing. We were This was in the dark days when we were hovering around relegation, or we'd peak at 14th, or like we weren't that great. So the football wasn't amazing to watch back then. But yeah, but I'm still very passionate, of course, and every time I go back, I go and watch it. So the last time I did go to the new stadium, and I went and watched, because I've never watched a Champions League game. So I went and actually watched a Champions League game when I was there last, and this was at home to Marseille. And I saw a rare event on that day. I saw Richarlison score 2 goals. So
I remember that. I remember one of his headers, and then he was like in tears after the game, and it was just such a huge moment for him. But we actually had 2 like good games in a sense of like entertaining games against them.
yeah,
because the away leg, that was the one where we did we come from behind, or we either needed to win by a certain amount to progress. I just remember like Højbjerg hit like a huge one.
Yeah, and yes, that's right. And we did do it, and then we got knocked out against AC Milan.
Yeah,
it was
I think that's right.
We lost 1-0, and then we drew 0-0. Was that right?
I think so. It's like a bit of a blur after that Marseille. I just remember like, oh, Højbjerg, look at that absolute rocket, and then like, okay, well,
who knew?
Scratch the rest of that.
He's like the newer version of Stefan Freund.
Well, look, a lot of speculation starting to come up now, because obviously we've reached the end of the season, and now there's no actual football for the press to talk about. So it's all transfer.
I think he'll be gone.
Yeah.
I was saying this to a friend today, is that we have an excellent 11, and then beyond that, it's grey, very, very grey. So
Do you say very great or very
No,
grey?
grey, as in like
Great. Okay. Yeah.
not brilliant, but still though. I mean, like we finished fifth, and the lowest we've been the whole season is fifth.
Yeah, I think we've had a pretty good season, and I understand like the expectations changing based on the first 10 games and how that was going, and then it's like, well, could we? And then to come from that to finish fifth does seem like a bit of a letdown. But I've always been super positive about where we've been, and not just in the context of other teams slipping up like Chelsea, Man U, Newcastle to an extent, things like that. Like I think I'm at the start of the season. If you said we finished fifth with Ange, we have moments where we're playing some really nice football, and like even when we've been playing poorly, there at least still have been some signs of something sort of long term here. So overall, I'm pretty happy with where things have finished up.
I mean, I have to say the same thing. I mean, everyone was saying about, oh no, we've lost Harry Kane. How are we going to get on? But I kept reminding everyone we got to the Champions League final without him.
Yeah.
Like we did it before. And we can prove we can do it again. I think fifth is great for us. We were only just missed out as well in Champions League, and that really is down to a few factors of the fact that we just don't have a strong enough squad. And if we actually had a real striker up front, we could, and then maybe like a really decent midfielder to just be like next to Pat Matasar. I think we definitely would have maybe even been third or second. Honestly, like I think we've got a team that's strong enough to do that. So if I was him, if I was Ange, I mean that's what I'd be looking at for next season. Is seeing who we can get rid of. We've got a lot of players who are sort of dead wood in some ways, and then others who just do not fit the system. So it's a real mongrel squad. But out of that mongrel, he's actually created a very good 11.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point there that saying a lot of players don't fit the squad as opposed to like players are just rubbish. Because it's polarizing views by fans sometimes. It's either like this person is an elite world class player or they're absolute trash, and I think we just see like some players just don't fit the system, but they're still decent players. Like Emerson Royale, like I still think he's a decent, just regular fullback, but he really struggles to play an inverted fullback role, like a lot of regular fullbacks would struggle to do, because it's effectively you have to have the skills of a midfielder slash winger,
Yeah,
and like and score goals and do everything, but then also have to defend one on one in very like risky scenarios as well, and often like getting back quickly on the counter, like you're not really defending from settled positions either. So probably one of the hardest positions I think that any footballer can play, these really sort of high responsibility inverted fullbacks. And yeah, like I think Everson, he did as well as he could when he needed to come in for these games, but
yeah.
obviously for the system to progress, we need to get someone in who can play that more confidently moving forward.
Well, yeah, definitely. See, this is the reason, right, why Porro works so well, is because he has always been a winger. So it was a winger slash, like in the middle, right? So it wasn't that hard to train him to do defense because he'd already had like 90% of the other role. He just needed to work on that defending part, which he has done. So it was easy to convert him. But I think with Emerson, he's the opposite, really. He is a defender first, and then
Mm,
he's been trying very hard to um, maneuver his way into being an inverted fullback. But it's not a role for everyone, Like it definitely isn't. I mean, like
yeah.
I don't think you can't put anyone in that role. The great thing with Udogie is that like he's a young player that we can mold into that role. So it's easy to train him on work on balance defending a bit more for next season. But the actual like attacking part, he's got that down to a T. I'm not sure if you came here, if you actually went and watched them play in Perth, but I went and watched them, and Udogie was like the star player in our team. And what was so good about him is that he has an engine, and he just kept running, running and running and running. He kept finding all these spaces, and he kept making these passes, and he kept trying to get into the box. He was trying to score. He was trying to do all of these things, and he was a real star player, even in that training session, in that pre-match game. So I think, like, yeah, again, this is why we've got a very good 11, but like, yeah, we can't fit an Emerson Royal in there because he's a very good right back, but he won't be fitted for any other role. Although I will say, when he was brought into the centre, it's like a centre right back, a centre right. He wasn't too bad in that role, but yeah. So the players like that probably do need to leave. I don't know what they're going to do with Oliver Skip. I don't know what he's going to do either. Like, he's again, he's a victim of the system, really. Like, he's very, very good in other positions, but although in saying this, he was actually pretty good on the left as a left fullback before, but it's not his natural position. So it's going to be very interesting, very, very interesting to see what happens.
Oh, definitely. And I feel like there's a chance we might see some of these, uh, what would you say, like players like fitting in to positions but based on who else is available elsewhere on the pitch and what we're trying to upgrade there. So what I mean by that is if we get the opportunity to sign like a top class left winger or something like that, and then we decide, oh, we're going to chuck most of the money there, we maybe can't afford to get, a fourth choice inverted fullback in for cover now. Then it's like maybe someone like Skip could do that for a year or something. I'm not saying as a backup. I think we do need someone who could come in as a backup. Like, I'm on board for Kyle Walker-Peters returning to do that. Like, maybe I'm not saying like Skip should be like the first port of call to come in there, but I just wonder as we're going through like the priority list, there might be some players who still get another season here just purely based on the fact that we're kind of focusing our efforts elsewhere.
Yeah, well, exactly. That would be amazing if Carl Walker Peters returned. He should never have left, really. He'd be fantastic. In this system, he'd be absolutely fantastic. Harry Winks as well, may as well bring him back. He did great for Leicester.
Just go through all the old players.
That's right. All the ones who've left, we'll just bring them back again.
Nabil Bentaleb, let's get him back in.
Nacer Chadli, what's he up to these days? I'm sure he's playing.
He still is playing because
Yeah, I
I know
bet.
because he pops up on FIFA and I think he's in the Belgium league with Jan and Toby.
Is he?
Bring them all back. Bring them all back
That's
in.
right. Yeah, exactly. Bring them all.
Yeah, I don't mind. I always thought like Carl Walker Peters got a pretty rough trot under Pochettino. Because when he was given some game time begrudgingly, it's almost like when someone had a gun to Poch's head. I thought it's like there's something here, at least in an attacking sense. And yeah, it just felt like it would have been nice to see more of him before he went. So I would be all up for him coming back, especially because I've just seen that they're reporting that it's been confirmed that Sessegnon's contract is not going to be renewed at the end of the season. We're not taking up the option to keep him, which is not a huge surprise.
No.
But I've already seen some comments going up of like people saying like, "Oh, it's so stupid not to take the option. Take the option, then try and sell him. Oh, it's stupid. We should be trying to make." But it's like, I think he's had his go here, and if we're not taking up the option to try and sell him, then I think we've probably reached the point where we feel like his injuries is getting so severe in the sense of like how recurring they are and everything that it's not even worth it as a club for us to try and keep him just to try and make a profit. The best thing we can do for us and also probably for him now at this stage is just to release him, let him go. In one sense, I'm like, I think that's a good move for all parties. It also would suggest that we then are going to bring in someone uh, in that position, but Yeah, I think he's one who has been now confirmed by Fabrizio Romano and Alistair Gold that he's out. He's gone.
He's out. I'm not surprised. Absolutely not surprised. I mean, he joined us 5 years ago. How many games has he played? I don't even think he's played
Not
more
many.
than. Has he even played more than 50? Maybe not.
I would say he's nowhere near 50 games. I'm looking
No.
that up now.
All right. Because I think I think he's probably played less than 50. Very unfortunate for him, really. That
He's played 38, by the way.
there you go. You see, there we are.
And that's in sorry, hang on. 38 league games, 57 all competitions. So
Wow, and that's including Fulham, is it? Or is that's just that with
no,
us? So it's including Europe and League Cup and so 57. So 57 games then, like and how many assists has he had in that time, and how many goals has he had in that time?
he's only had 2 league goals, 3 goals in total. And I was just looking back at this. So comparing to Fulham, where he played 3 seasons and he played 120 times and scored 25 goals, albeit like 2 of those were in the championship. But still, to go from 120 appearances over 3 seasons, so averaging like 40 appearances a season, so it's pretty decent, to now going down to 57 over 5. I know there is the Hoffenheim loan where he did play 29 games for them
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah.
But it's still like for a player that I think we spent like close to 30 million or something like that
We
for.
did, yeah. And at the time when we signed him, I thought, oh, that's a perfect fit. He's exactly the sort of player that we crave for, really. But yeah, just unfortunate, very very unfortunate for him that it didn't work out. Um, and he's done everything, hasn't he? He's tried to do it. He's done all the, he's had surgeries, he's had everything. It just hasn't worked out for him. Who knows why? I mean, once you've injured the hamstring, it's hard to recover from it really because it can just keep repeating. But yeah, very unfortunate for him. I'd be interested to see what happens with him next. Maybe he will join another Premier League team. Maybe he'll go into the Championship. Maybe he will go back to Germany.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's interesting. Like on the post, it says, I think on Romano's post, it's like, already has some a lot of interest from like Europe, the Premier League, all this, that, everything else. And I wonder if that's his agent just sort of saying like, no, don't worry, we've got heaps of interest. No one's concerned about the injury record at all. Don't you stress about that. There's so much interest everywhere. We're batting away offers right now. You better get in quick if you do want him because there's just so much, so much on the table that we're sifting through.
he's an elite Premier League left back. Elite Premier League player. So many teams want him. Every single team. Oh wow, he sounds good. Has he ever been injured? Oh, like once. It was only for a week.
Yeah,
Hardly.
minor,
Yeah,
very minor
very minor.
injuries.
Very. Wouldn't even notice it, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you have his medical records? Nah, not really.
Oh, you know what? They've just been recently shredded.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately, we don't have them. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but yeah, he's another one to go. And then for Lost Soul, that is Bryan Gil.
Oh yeah.
He'll be gone as well, unless he's going
Yeah.
to stay around and do the tours around the stadium. I don't know what else he's going to do.
I would love that if the club just started invoking their right of like in their contract. I don't know if it says we can only ask you to play football and attend, media events, or if it's just like open. It's like if we have a task, we can get you to do it. So like Bryan, you've been doing such a great job cleaning the toilets at the stadium for the last couple of seasons. So now we're going to upgrade you to stadium tours.
Yeah,
You're just a
that's
very
right.
well paid tour guide.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, and then like his dream is to do the tours around the Dare Skywalk. And
Yeah.
he keeps looking up and then like, oh, one day,
Yeah.
one day I'll
One
get
day.
there.
Yeah. And they're like, look, we still have Brandon Austin on that at the moment, but look, or Alfie Whiteman,
Alfie Whiteman, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he's been managing the Skywalk since it opened.
he has, yeah. He does, to be fair to him, he does a very good job of it.
Yeah.
Everyone goes up there and they're always raving about him. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, he shouldn't be fourth choice goalkeeper. He should be doing this.
Yeah. Exactly. It kind of brings me to the point of like, we often think like, oh, the player has to move on for their career for this, that, everything else. But like, even if you are an Alfie Whiteman, like you still get paid pretty well to basically just rock up and stay fit every day. Like
That's
you're
it.
just paid to work out.
Yeah.
You never are in any risk of actually playing a match,
No.
and you get still paid like he'd have to be on at least a few £1,000s a week
Oh,
just
yeah.
to
He
just to
must
do
be.
that. So I mean, it's a pretty good life. Like it doesn't have to be this thing of like, well, if you had, you must leave and you've got to go play League Two or go somewhere else. Like I can see why if you're at a top club in the sense that a club that's got like a beautiful training ground to go in, like a wonderful workplace to go
Yeah.
all the time. You get to go and sometimes sit on the bench at the stadium. I'm sure there's like a communal players box for like, the superstars all get their own individual ones, but I'm sure there's one just for like anyone else in the team. Like you don't get free food, don't know, not at all. But you've got to pay your way for that. But there's a little bit where you can pull up a little stool in one of the second tiers to watch that. So like it's not a bad existence.
No, it isn't. I mean, and what a, not bad little job, really. I mean, you only get to work in the mornings, and then the rest of the
Yeah.
day totally free. And and for Alfie Whiteman, I mean, you've also got free weekends as well. So
100%. He's got the ideal job. Like
it
he is the
does.
luckiest man in football.
Yeah, he
Like,
does.
and it's like, like if you ask him what he does with his time, it's like I've got so many things on the go. Like I've got a drop shipping business that is doing really really well. It's like I do scenic tours down the coast. Like I mean, he could
Yeah,
do
he's a
so
riverboat.
much. Like
Yeah.
he runs a riverboat.
No,
It's like
I don't
it's amazing.
know. I mean, what a great life, really. I mean, the only thing that sort of disrupts this is when he has to play. And he's like, oh, I don't want to be doing that.
Yeah,
I've got 3 tours going through today. You know.
yeah. His tours aren't going to take themselves
No,
around. Like
that's
what am
right.
I?
No,
What,
that's right.
that he'd be the only player that would like feign an injury when they are called on to play.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. As soon as he gets called on, he as soon as he gets called on, he's like oh no, I've pulled a muscle here.
Yeah.
I better go off again. And he just
Oh,
like
what muscle's that, Alfie? What muscle's
it's
that?
just no, it's just this one on the right. It's just this one right on the right here. Oh, it's just taut. It's just taut at the moment.
Look, just jump up on the table. Just jump up on the table. We'll have a quick look at
I
it.
mean, I'm more of a hop on. Due to it's so tight down here. It's really taut. Oh, I better not risk it. I'm just gonna declare I'm gonna be out.
Yeah.
I'll be out for the whole season on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what, he's first on the plane for the tour to Australia,
Oh,
which they are on their way at the moment, probably either in transit or they'd be landing in a few hours.
yeah, they will be. Yeah. I'm gonna go. Are you gonna go?
So I don't have a ticket to go.
Mm.
I was looking at it, but um yeah, I just wasn't feeling it in the end because I think at the moment, so like we are expecting a second child. My wife is like heavily pregnant. We've got our little toddler who's just running around every evening. So like to get an evening off to go to something, it requires some effort. Roping in the parents for some babysitting duties, things like that. Um, so I was like, oh, is it worth the trouble of sorting all that out to go and see a game? Like, if it was a preseason game, I think I'd probably be more inclined to go and see it. But seeing how it's like post-season and we've got Euros coming up, we've got Copa America, we've got players just wanting to go on holiday.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Exactly.
just sort of, I just sort of felt like, uh, I don't think I can sort of like justify that. But I am glad to hear that you're going.
I will go, yeah, because I do want to see them. And every time the Perth when I went last season was the first time I actually watched them here because I don't know how I managed to do this, but every other time that they came out here, I completely missed it. So when, I used to live in Sydney before I moved here to Melbourne, and I completely missed them being in Sydney. And then when I was here in Melbourne, they came out here again. I didn't even know they were here until I saw that they were on the plane flying back. And yeah, I have missed that. Like
Yeah.
that was a big miss. So yeah, so I work in South Melbourne as well, and they were actually at St. Ali's apparently, and I actually worked just like a couple of doors down. So I missed them. I do not know how I completely missed them, but yeah. So when they came to Perth, I'm like, right, I'm going, done. And then coming here, I'm like, right, I've got to see them, even though they're going to be like, it's going to be like one of the most lethargic games I think I'll ever see.
Yeah.
Newcastle will be like half dead, and then like we'll just be like zombies walking around. It could end up being either 0-0, and like no one that has ever like ventured past the halfway line, or it'll be like 5-5 because everyone's forgotten how to defend. So,
Yeah.
but either way, it'll be entertaining. But I left it really late, so I was similar, sort of similar thinking of like it's just gonna be an exhibition game. It's not much in it. Should I? Shouldn't I? And I thought, well, I'll go. But I am sitting up in the heavens, so everyone's going to be like these little dots just wandering. Like it'll be like Subbuteo. It's
Yeah.
like these like little things running around. So
Yeah. Well, and I think like that's the thing too, being at the MCG, like it's such a huge stadium. And I think this is the difference that we have compared to, say, a lot of Europeans who like their standard stadium that they go and watch a team in. It's a football stadium. It's a rectangular ground. I know there are some which do have like, the running tracks around it and, things like that, but none of them have that, or for the most part, like have that size to them that something like the MCG does, which is built for like AFL and cricket and things like that. And it really is kind of bizarre sometimes how they position a football pitch on there. Like sometimes it's kind of off a bit more to one side. Other times it's like bang in the middle, but then everyone is just, kilometers away from seeing it. Like it really is a pretty subpar viewing experience to go and see a football game. And sadly, the only rectangular stadium we have, Amy Park, I think only fits about 15, 20,000. So it kind of gets ruled out for any of these big exhibition matches that we have here.
well, yeah, well there we are. Well, they've got to get it sorted, haven't they? You know, wouldn't it be amazing if they actually hosted the World Cup here? I mean, we've got pretty much everything set. They just need to like build a couple of new like football stadiums. But yeah, you're right. Like they convert a lot of these stadiums into football stadiums, but they don't always work out. But
Yeah, I was just laughing at. I love that you're like, yeah, we've got everything set here for the World Cup. Just need to build the stadiums.
yeah, that's right. We've got everything else. We've got roads. We've got streets. We've got
We
people.
got houses. You got people.
I've seen them out there.
Just a small thing of the
Just
stadiums that
just the stadium. Oh, damn. It's the there was yeah. There's a fly in the ointment. Yeah.
yeah. If in Qatar they've like they have like the shipping container stadium for games and stuff. They're like, I'm sure we could cobble something together. My understanding though is that we were bidding for. We always seem to be sniffing around World Cups, and I think like the 2034 one, we were like thinking of making a run for that, but then that's one that the Saudis really, really wanted badly, and my understanding is that it's like there was some sort of discussions with MBS and Infantino, and they were like, what's the condition we can put in place here that means that this, it'll go to Saudi Arabia, blah, 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 blah. That sounds very conspiracy theory, but this was on a podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about that. So go after them, not me. But it was like, it feels like it is going to be a pretty tough ask for us to actually get a World Cup. I think if we already had enough of the big stadiums, then it would probably be a bit of a no-brainer because like they never bring anything to like Oceania and I mean what the last one in Asia was 2002, right? So
Yeah,
we're definitely due to have something close to here soon, but it just seems like then, there are other countries that politically have more interest in trying to host an event like that.
that's right. Exactly. Saudi Arabia's they've got to sports wash something. So,
Yeah.
the World Cup's the next one, next logical step. Once they've done that,
Yeah.
maybe they'll move on to like other sports like cricket and golf and
Well, I mean, they've
basketball.
already
And
done golf. They've
yeah,
already got
they already
golf
did
with,
golf. Yeah, they did. See?
yeah. So they've, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think there's a bit of a connection here because there are some rumors about Richarlison possibly having some interest from somewhere like the Saudi Pro League. I don't know which team has been linked with him, but I guess the public investment fund's like, we just have 4 teams, so we'll just buy him and put him on one of those. It doesn't matter. But it does bring up the question of like someone like Richarlison. I've been a pretty big fan of him this season, but it's like
Yeah.
the first question is like one, would you sell him just as a flat question? But then and then two, it's like if you got someone paying like over the odds, like let's say what we paid for him or higher, um,
Wow. If we,
is that hard to say no to, even if it's a bit you morally don't agree with the league over there or anything like that. It's a tough it's a tough thing that people seesaw back and forth all the time based on what suits their need right at that moment.
yeah, well, that's right. Exactly. Like all of these, it's very funny, isn't it? Like how everyone's like these teams, their moral compass is skewed when like Saudi Arabia comes in and says we've got 80 million and we'll give it to you to Richarlison, and you're like, well, I'll take it because I need that
Yeah.
money, but I don't feel happy about it, but I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is the world. I mean, this is the world we're in right now. Manchester City just won the Premier League again for the 4th time in a row, and they're owned by a state. So, and then Newcastle is also owned by a state. So this is just the way of the world right now. It's very sad, really, that it's come to this. But I would kind of feel a bit guilty to let him go to Saudi, just because I think like his talents should be used in other better leagues. Really, if we're going to sell him, he'd be amazing, like in the Spanish team, for example. Like I could honestly see him playing for like maybe not Real Madrid, but he could play in the like someone like that or Barca or Athletic Club or Girona or someone like that. Atletico Madrid, for example, like he could easily play for one of those teams. Yeah, I think for him though, like this, I've enjoyed him a lot this season. I think he's actually been better this season. He's had to sort out his head a bit, but he has been better. He's sort of like a Richard, like a Brazilian Emile Heskey in a way. Like he doesn't score that many goals, but like he creates stuff and he holds up the play and he's very good at like doing his like the movement and stuff. But he isn't going to score 20, 30 goals a season. But yeah, so it's it was sort of interesting when we bought him, and I think he's sort of endeared himself to the fans. Like I think we all like him a lot. It's interesting to think of his future with us, really. What will happen with him? He can, yeah. I'm be very curious to see what happens, but I hope he doesn't go to the Saudi league because he's better than that, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love the fact that you've referred to him as the Brazilian Emile Heskey, which I've never heard before. I think that's a bit of a slight on Richardson if you're saying that. But also, it's like, I just love that it's usually like, oh, who's this new player? It's like, oh, they're the Georgian Pele. They're the, they're the the Turkish Maradona, like all this sort of stuff. And then we just have like Heskey being used in the context of that to refer, especially to like a Brazilian player.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
right.
he's
Yeah,
a Brazilian Heskey.
he is. Just once you get your head around it, it all makes sense.
Yeah. And like, I wonder if then it's like, if that is just in other football discussions I've never been a part of, but they use players like that. Like as in like they refer to those sort of players instead of the ones that we normally do. Like we glamorize the greats, but then you have players like that where it's like, no, he's the I'm just
He's the Rory the Lap of Stoke or whatever it is,
yeah, there
whatever
you
it might
go.
be. Yeah, yeah.
He's the Argentinian Rory Delap.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was thinking in my head, what's his name? Ginger Pele.
Ginger Pele.
Do you remember Ginger Pele for us? Doherty.
Oh
The but
yes.
but
Yeah.
but the old Doherty, redhead Doherty centre back.
Oh yes. Wow.
Maybe it wasn't
Yes.
even Doherty. Maybe it's Doherty. I can't recall. But like Ginger Pele was
Ginger Pele.
a name that came up there. But yeah, I just love the Brazilian Emile Heskey.
When you see
So
Richarlison
good.
again, you'll get what I mean. Like you'll see it
No,
straight away.
I don't want to get it. I don't want to get that. I don't want to. I don't want to tarnish Richarlison's good name with. I don't really hate like Emile Heskey for any main reason, but I think it's just going back to when I was in my youth and we play a lot of Pro Evo and things like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like Emile Heskey was just rubbish on that. And then as a player, it's like when you're young, you don't respect a player who doesn't just score goals. So if you've got a forward who, when they get through on goal, they just fluff everything, you're like, rubbish. and and with that, so I personally feel like we've seen some glimpses of Richarlison that could be a little bit more promising from that, especially after his hip operation and also after he came out talking about his mental health issues. So definitely, in terms of skill level, I think if we have a healthy Richarlison for a season, I think he can still do some damage for us.
Mm.
And I think, like personally, for me, my ideal scenario, I think would really be getting an elite left winger in, spending like big money there, and then using Son and Richarlison in the middle. And I think that gives us good depth at least for another year. I don't think Son has been great through the middle in general, but I feel like if you have an elite player out wide who's able to actually beat their man and cut it back to Son, I think he'll do a lot better in there. But yeah,
Son needs a lot of service. That's the thing
yeah,
with him. He needs a lot of service. He can drift in a bit, but he's better at running in and just slotting it in. Yeah, so he interesting. I was thinking as well about left wing as well. I was thinking we probably need another left winger. I don't know if they'll keep Timo Werner. I think maybe not, but someone on the left wing again, and then we probably need like maybe another midfielder, another centre back, another someone on the left. I honestly think maybe we need like 6 or 7 more players, but that might be a
yeah.
bit unrealistic.
But I mean, look, we always talk about like having expectations of huge business in a transfer window and thinking you're going to get more than say 5 in is like really, really optimistic.
Yeah,
We've got a lot of players that we need to get rid of, because I even see lists of like the players who are up for sale. I'm like, this person hasn't played for us for like 25 years. Like, it's like, well, still got like Ndombele on the books, still got Reguilon still on, and you're just like, no, we need to ship off. We need to get rid or just sever contracts or something. We have to just really just move on. But there seems like there is quite a lot of work for that department to do in terms of the outgoings. And you're right. There's like a lot of decisions there. Like left wing, if we've got Timo Werner, who we're not sure what will happen there. But then there is Manor Solomon, who I know that he was injured, but then it's just like he's out of anything. And then Bryan Gil, who's like gets like one game to cap off the season, got to ship him off.
yep.
It's really kind of interesting when it's like you have a manager who I respect that the manager's always going to try and win the game in front of them, and they're going to keep doing that. But when you just leave players out in the cold for a whole season, basically, if you aren't able to sell them, it's like, what do you have? Because you've got a player there that you've basically just shunned, and it's tough for them to then come back in if needed. And you probably just think in your head that they don't exist. So it's like there's a lot of work to do really to like fully turn that squad over. So I assume that we're going to go into next season with still a few of these players who are just not going to get games, and
Yeah.
they'll just be hanging around until maybe the next window when we're able to sell them, or the one after that.
I mean, it's going to at least take it's going to at least take a few seasons to you know rejuvenate this squad. I don't think it'll all be done in this one. I think it'll take, maybe they'll do like a chunk, but not the whole squad. But like, I think like we're in a we're in a pretty good position, and Ange's done a full season now. He knows what it is. He knows what the Premier League. He knows what it takes now. I think next season will be a really good season for us. I know I'm tempting fate, and normally in the past when I said I think we'll do well, we've ended up 12th. But I think like this season, next season, I think we will do better. We have some very good players, very, very good players. We just need some improvements in some areas, and we just need a little bit of fleshing out in other parts. Do you think there's anyone in like the academy, do you think that could be like promoted from like the academy up into the first team?
Well, we haven't seen him, so
Mm,
I like we've had some players like flirting with getting some minutes or getting 5 here and there. Uh, I think we could maybe see some. Like, I know Moore coming in and getting at least a couple of minutes in the last few games. I don't know whether that was contractual, of like part of him signing for us was like, we need to involve you at least in the training of the first team somehow, and then maybe he's been training well, and then he gets a couple of minutes there. But it also didn't surprise me that in Andrew's first season he hasn't played youth players in a sense, because like our first team squad has quite youthful players in it. Like, we've got a lot of players who are around like 20, 21, 22, that sort of mark anyway. And I feel like if we are going to see these players get a shot under Ange at all, we would probably see them happen next season. And maybe that's when you see someone like a Donley, a Dorrington, whoever, Phillips coming back on loan. I don't really know, but I feel like, yeah, if Ange isn't pulling them in next season, or at least not giving them a bit of a run in the preseason games, then I'd say we're probably casting the judgment on them of like not quite up to the standard to improve the squad to get us to where we want to go.
well, yeah, that's it, isn't it? That is it. It's tricky with the young players because you think like, Dane Scarlett's played a bit now. Mikey Moore had his debut.
Yeah.
And then you hear about like Lancashire and a few of the other younger players coming through, like Alfie Devine as well. And think, oh, maybe it is time for them to be moved up. But only Ange knows really. Only he can tell. But I was thinking that potentially as something for next season to bring up small players from the youth academy into the first team and actually use them and actually try and rotate them into the squad a bit more. No good having an academy if we're not going to use the players that we're producing from it.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I guess another take on that could be that if we've got a lot of players in the squad at the moment that are international standard
Yeah.
players, it's hard to play a youth player over them and not have them completely hit the roof. I think like that. Like, if you're saying to someone who, I was going to say someone like Højbjerg, even though he's played actually quite a few minutes this season, but if you're saying like, you know what, Pierre, we're not going to play you. right now. We're gonna chuck this player in for who's a 17-year-old. It says quite a lot. And similarly, like when Madison's out, I know a lot of people saying like play Donnelly, play Donnelly, play Donnelly. But can you really say then to like someone like whoever is around them, like Lo Celso, Bentancur, Skip, any of these other midfielders to go like, hey, we're actually going to play someone who's never played Premier League football at all instead of you in this game? Uh, like I think you can do that if you have made up in your mind that that player is definitely leaving and you're just like, they're not in my plans at all. And I'm not going to use them in this season, even if you are holding me hostage. There's no chance I'm playing them. That's probably the only instance that you can do that. But I think it's really, yeah, it's really, it'll be really telling after to see who leaves and then to see, yeah, what happens. Like if we have like 7, 8 players leaving and then we bring in 4, that might suggest that there are a couple of youth players who could make the leap up there. But I think if we're kind of replacing the same amount of players that are leaving with new players coming in, um, it's probably highly unlikely that we're going to see more youth players, even though we have Europa League now.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. I wonder if Ange still has some wounds from rotating the team against Fulham and going out of the cup, and if he's now sort of a bit more hesitant about that. And yeah, like there's so much up in the air.
There is, yeah. There is a lot up in the air. I think it's kind of exciting though, really, to think
Yeah.
about it. Like, like goodness, I mean, but it was so dire last season. At the end of last season, it was like the end of the world. And then we went through we tried to hire every manager in Europe, and they all said no. And then eventually Ange said yes. But yeah, we're in a very interesting but exciting time for us. And what I've also been saying lately as well is like, if we kind of want to look at how other teams have done in this sort of scenario where they've just missed out on Champions League, but then the next season they've kicked on and they've done better. No, we're in this very similar position ourselves. We can do better for next season, and it all depends on the players we get. We're probably like maybe like 2 or 3 world class players away, really, from really pushing at the top. It's gonna and like, can Manchester City do 5 seasons in a row? Will Arne Slot turn Liverpool around? But will we? Like, will the second season be our season? Where we actually are at the top and we're challenging to win something. It's an exciting time. I don't have this anxiety about what's going to happen to us like I did end of last season. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Like, we will definitely see what happens. Yeah. So yeah, we'll I'm looking. I'm feeling quite optimistic right now. And we were only 2 points away from finishing 4th. So all we had to do was win either one of those. We just had to win one more game. That was it, and we would have done it. But there we are. But we're always at a deficit whenever we're at the beginning of the season, because we never win at Chelsea or Liverpool or rarely at Manchester United. Not always at Newcastle. So those games, and then just very unfortunate with the scheduling of the fixtures, is that we had all 4 of them in a row. So even when we went on that run, I was still thinking, no way, it's not. This isn't the end of the world either, because like, this is very normal. It's very normal for us not to do well against these teams at their stadiums.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Ange has said though that he does want to maybe add more to his coaching staff. So we'll see what he does there. And
Maybe someone on set pieces. I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly.
It's
Someone who teaches Vicario what to do in corners would be good.
Yeah,
Don't get crowded by the opposing team. Although
yeah,
yesterday though, they actually did put a defender in between him and a Sheffield United player, so that did work. They
yeah.
should have thought about 38 games ago, but
Oh no, it was great. It's like Dragusin coming in as like the Bond goon, who's just like, right, you like he was shoving. I can't remember the name of the Sheffield, but he was like really protecting Vicario there, and I think it's like, yeah, good. This is better. Like I disagree with the whole argument of like, oh, Vicario just has to be stronger and that's it. I think it's like you see how other teams tackle this, and the problem is that you're a goalkeeper, you've got your arms up, you're doing all this. If you are a bit too physical with a player, or you're going through, you're like elbowing him in the face. Firstly, you probably just don't want to like purposely do that. But secondly, like that's more of a red card possible offense. Like, so you can't just be a goalkeeper and just go and start smashing people through the way there. So I do think that you do need to put a defender in the mix to shield if someone else is coming in on someone like that. But yeah, like I was kind of defending Edge a bit when he was talking about like set pieces, mate. If I thought set pieces would be what would turn us around, then I'd put more effort, more time into them. But I don't think that's what's going to give us the most growth. And then when it went for like 3, 4, 5 games in a row, and it's like we're just losing on set pieces, it just feels like, okay, maybe we could just do a little bit on them. Just even like during a lunch break, let's just lightly just even chat about set pieces rather than just like
yeah,
leaving them up to the gods, whatever's going to happen there. But I think what this all speaks to me is that uh, like what you were saying, it's like, there are a lot of positives from this season, and we did have a couple of runs where we weren't playing well. We lost quite a few games that were probably winnable, or at least games where we might have gotten a draw or could have gotten a result out of. And if this is where we are, where we do that, we still finish fifth, a couple of points off Champions League. We still have a squad which is in transition, very much so, and you have a lot of players that aren't suited to the system, like we've been talking about. That's pretty good when you step
yeah,
back and look at it like that. It's like it would be more worrying if we had played as well as possible and played brilliantly in every game, but had lost and were finishing, sort of where we are now. Because then we'd look at it and go like, it seems like this is the peak
yeah.
of the system where we can't really get better than that. But it feels like we're definitely not at that place, and we've shown that once things go well, I don't believe that Ange's system has just been figured out either. I think it's if we have a squad where we can like interchange players a little bit better, and so if one player's out, it doesn't completely break the whole system. Like the system is, it's got its quirks in the sense that we're always going to concede chances, fine, but we upgrade a few pieces, especially attackers. We like we said, we the backup, we just improve that a little bit. Then the idea is that the system and how you're playing, it's pretty indefensible, and we're going to be able to overrun these teams that have been causing us issues.
Well, that's it. Like the first 10 games of the season. We were unbeatable. We were. We only we completely fell apart against Chelsea, but I think that was also just down to the fact we don't have we have a strong squad, and then we're having that run of games where we just didn't have a strong enough squad to just fill in the gaps. Exactly what you were saying. So this is where I'm sort of saying, like, with a doggy out, we don't. Mickey's done a fine job in that position, but we don't. He should. He's fantastic as a centre back. So we don't
Mm.
always want him to be on that side all the time, for example. So we do need to look for someone to fill in on that left side. Basuma has been maybe not. He's always been a bit inconsistent as well this season. So I think, like, we probably need someone like there next to Papsar. And then like we probably a few more gaps, but like I mean, this is better. This is a better conversation to have than it was end of last season. So I think we're going to do well. Well, I hope so. I'll eat my words if we do a return of this like end of next season, where it's like, yeah, so we finished 18th.
We're relegated. We somehow managed to get relegated down to League One. I don't
Yeah,
know how that
exactly.
happened,
Yeah,
but
everyone just made a vote, and it's don't even bother with Championship. We'll just skip you straight down to League One, and we'll actually just start in the middle of League One as well. And it'll be a 6-pointer between Cambridge United and Tottenham. Who's gonna finish? Who's gonna get relegated?
Yeah. Well, the thing that also it just came to mind was that's looming over all of this is like we talk about City winning 4 in a row. They still have over 100 charges that we're just seemingly just waiting on, and we're just acting like nothing's happening. So there are possibly quite a few ramifications that could happen from that. I've seen as well that Wolves apparently have submitted uh, I don't know the exact technicalities of it, but my understanding is apparently clubs can trigger a vote on certain topics amongst all the other Premier League clubs at meetings. And I saw that Wolves had submitted something to basically scrap VAR for a whole number of reasons. I feel like it would be very surprising if everyone voted and said, yes, let's just completely scrap it.
Yeah.
However, I would be excited if that happened.
I think VAR has been like the biggest like farce in like modern sporting history. Like it's been absolutely disastrous. It was always meant to bring in like to absolutely eliminate howlers, right? Like the really obvious ones were like oh that's definitely offside or that's definitely a foul or it's that. But it's like somewhere along the way, and this is probably down to like managing the referees more than anything, not so much the VAR, but the referees themselves. And then like somewhere along the way, they've gone, oh well, I've got another referee in the back. I'll just get him to do the second lot of refereeing for me, and like it's just deviated.
Oh, yeah.
It hasn't. It's just they're going to bring in the automated offside thing next season, which I think will be good. That'll be very good to do that. And we've also got the goal line technology as well, which does work very well. Yeah, but I think there's too many variables when you start actually trying to referee a game. So get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely get rid of it. It's not. We'll all just have to live how it used to be with the referee just making the final decision. And the game went on for 100 years, exactly like that. Like this new intervention, just what a waste, an absolute waste of time, waste of money, and
Yeah.
it hasn't worked.
Yeah, and I think other sports implement things a little bit better, but I think there are two things in play here. One is the sport has existed for so long without this system playing, and it's in the vast majority of games been fine. And every club has been on the receiving end of howlers. I still remember Pedro Mendes scoring against Man U and
Yeah,
it being basically in the back of the net and Roy Carroll clambering out of there. And it's okay, they're not giving it. Great. But then automated goal line technology sorts that still sort of stuff out. But every
yeah,
club has been on the receiving end.
yeah,
But I really think that it's so bizarre to go, we're getting caught up in officiating in this manner, and we're having a product now which makes it far less enjoyable for anyone to watch. Which is I've noticed it now. In the past, when Spurs would score a goal, I would celebrate. Whereas now I get excited, but I can't fully let go and celebrate as a fan because I'm like, hey, hope that's not offside, or they're not going to find some infringement 5 minutes ago, or there's some little thing that they're going to pull it back for. I think that is completely gone. What really annoys me now is that if it's an offside, even if it's blatant, the linesman will just call it only when the play's over, and it's almost just a fear of what if it was an offside and then this ends up being a goal? I don't want to get done for that, and then you just get these massive opportunities for injury. when you've got players like clamoring back to try and catch a player, and then he gets given a side. Like, there's just so many downfalls to this system, and it feels like we're having so many conversations about that was a bad VAR call, that was a good VAR call, and we're having more conversations about these calls now, even when we're rewatching them 100 times,
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
when they just happened previously, where we'd be like, "Oh, that was a harsh decision. Oh, they missed that. That should have been a red. That's it."
That's what it should be for. I mean, that it should be for those really like glaringly obvious mistakes. Like that's what it should be. Like it's somewhere along the way it's deviated. It's deviated, and referees
Mm.
have gone. Oh, I've got a second referee now that can do the refereeing for me. And it's just that's the problem. I think that's the problem is that it's been the notion that a referee putting it in the referee's mind of like, oh, I might make a mistake here. Therefore, I've got another backup who can get me out of jail. But
Mm.
it's get rid of it. Absolutely get rid of it. I think this automated offside thing will be good. The goal line technology is good, and let's just stick with that. And then, if the referee calls a penalty and it's not a penalty, and so be it. We lived in that world before, and we'll just have to live in that world again until they can,
Yeah,
figure out another way of sorting out VAR. I don't know when that will be, but we'll see. But
totally.
yeah,
Put all that extra effort into prosecuting Man City. We'll be happy then.
that's right. What do you think will happen, Manchester City?
Uh, I feel like if nothing comes from this, then the Premier League is effectively just saying like we are a joke of a organization. There's probably every chance that is going to happen, but I just can't see how you have clubs like Everton and Forest who get penalized so much for like one infringement of some transfer rule or something like that. And then you have City with like, or, allegedly over like, 100, 150 charges, whatever it is. Such a huge amount. And the reason they haven't prosecuted yet is just because it's such a big case to put together and get through. I feel like we would have heard something if the Premier League didn't think that they had something on City here and it was something really serious, because it's just kind of disappeared now for like too long that we can't end up with a scenario where it's like, oh, we're going to try charging them now, but we don't really have much. Like, there's so much there that I think for the integrity of the sport, even though you could argue it's gone anyway, but you have to punish them.
Yeah,
But then I also wonder if, like, in doing that, there are so many ramifications of that, because you go back, we're talking about a decade-long infringement here, and then you suddenly have all these other clubs which are like, well, if they were cheating here, we missed out on Champions League this year, this year, this year. We finished an extra position down each of these seasons, which is worth this much. Like, I feel like I don't think it's going to get to a scenario where then suddenly all these clubs are trying to sue the Premier League for like millions, but there would possibly be a case that this could have like huge shockwaves through the other clubs in England. I don't think you could just go like, "Oh, we're just gonna find City and that's it."
well, yeah, well, it we will soon find out what the answer will be. My fear is that they'll just get a slap on the wrist. There'll be like maybe like a £5 million fine, and it'll be like, oh well, that's it. That's what I think will happen. But they really should hold them accountable. They held Nottingham Forest accountable. They held Everton accountable. They should hold them as well. Giving them a fine isn't enough.
No, you can't. A team that's got endless cash, you can't just go, "Well, here's a fine." Like, it's
That's
just
right. Yeah, at least start them with a points deduction at the beginning of the next season. Like that's what they should do. I don't think they will return trophies and titles and all the rest of it back to them. I don't think they will do that. I think they will just stick with it. But I think they'll probably give them some sort of deduction. But the worst case would be they don't give them anything. But maybe the best case is like some sort of deduction or something that just shows, to the rest of the teams, who do play fairly, this is what happens if you don't. Like, they do need to be held accountable. We've seen it a little bit with Nottingham Forest and with Everton, but I think Everton was very harshly um, untreated. I think their deduction. It's a miracle. It's absolutely Sean Dyche has done an absolute miracle with Everton, like getting them actually keeping them in the league with those deductions. And actually, if you add on, if they never had those points deducted, they would actually have finished in 10th or something. Incredible. So yeah, I think Manchester City, they need to have something needs to be done with them just to show to everyone else, this is what happens. But will that happen? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But we will soon find out. But yeah, what did you think of our game on yesterday? Do you think we played well at all?
Yeah, I also just love this. It's like over an hour in, and we're like, oh yeah, that's right. There was a game yesterday we've got to talk about. We better check that off before we finish.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. We played a game. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we played fine in that game, and I thought if we didn't play fine against a team that got 16 points, to end up with 16 points for a season and be so bad, if we didn't get a result from them, that would have been quite worrying. I felt like it didn't seem like we were maybe going at 100%, and I think that I don't mean that in a bad way either. I think players are just like, I think we can win this game comfortably, just putting in about 60% of it
That's right.
to go through there. But I thought it was at least just good to get a clean sheet, get a few goals from Decky too, which is really nice. And I think it was better to have that in, especially after the City game and all the stuff around Arsenal and Ange and Ange's misreading of the fans' sentiment there, and then so much divisiveness amongst the fans about the Arsenal game. Sorry, about the City game and the effect that would have on Arsenal, which we hadn't seen that sort of division since before Ange came in.
Yeah.
And then Ange kind of added fuel to the fire on that. And then I'm glad that he kind of came back afterwards and retracted that a little bit, or sort of at least patched that up. But yeah, I thought it was just a nice game just to finish the season on. Fairly uneventful. I mean, there was the red card for what looked like a punch on someone, but then they got taken away. But apart from that, I mean, yeah, I think it was just a nice finish.
Yeah, I think so as well. We were sort of playing around a bit in the first 20 minutes or so, and we were making Sheffield United look like they could kick a ball, but we we were sort of toying with them in a way. It is incredible, Sheffield United, absolutely incredible. Almost like a League One team had jumped up into, or even a League One team and someone had jumped up into the Premier League. And then they just made terrible decisions at the beginning of their season of selling all their best players and not investing, and then not having a system that would suit the Premier League. But who knows if they will come back? But who knows? But from a Tottenham point of view, I think we played well. I think we played very well. Good to see Decky get a couple of goals in. Pedro Porro, one of his standard stunning goals that he always scores, which very good. Again, he's been one of the absolute standouts of our season, I think. And it's just moving him from that wing position to that right back inverted position, and it's absolutely revitalizing the way. He's just so different, and this is fantastic, so good. I can't wait to see him again next season, really, and see what he does. He can go on from here. I don't know if he's been chosen to play for. He's Spanish, isn't he? So I don't know if he's been chosen. I don't know if he'd be chosen for the Spanish squad, but he should definitely be in contention for it. Like at least being considered to be pulled up into the squad. But yeah, we'll I guess we'll see on that. But yeah, pretty good game, I think. I mean, they conceded over 100 goals. Sheffield, yeah. I mean, like they may as well have just like stood on the sides and just gone like, oh yeah, you go ahead. You know, we'll catch. You know, no need for us to put any defending in there or any players. They might have just put like cardboard cutouts of themselves and just put that on the pitch instead.
Yeah.
Would have had the exact same effect.
And I wonder if it comes out like that, you know, other teams, like they come up, they invest a lot of money and then go down, lose a lot of money, and it becomes a very risky thing to invest in the squad and do that. I wonder if then Sheffield, it comes out that they were just like, hey, we just thought we were going to get relegated, so we didn't want to spend anything, and we're just going to have fun for that season. And 16 points is better than what we were hoping for. So screw the lot of you. This is a good result for us, where we finished exactly where we wanted to. We're out of here.
That's right, yeah. And like, you know, it will explain why half the season they were just at a pool party. They just had like cardboard
Yeah.
cutouts of themselves, like mannequins on the pitch. That's how Manchester City beat 28-0. Whatever.
Yep. And then VAR still couldn't even
Couldn't
pick
pick it
that
up.
up.
No, exactly. That's right. But what do you think about Leicester coming back? What do you think about Ipswich, and who do you think is gonna like win the playoff?
Admittedly, I don't really know too much about that. Like I think Leicester being back in, cool. Uh Ipswich, I always like getting newer teams coming back in. And when I say newer teams, I mean just teams that have been out of the top flight for a little while.
Yeah,
Because then you get these clubs that even if you didn't follow them when you were younger, like they were playing top flight football and things like that. So it is kind of nice to have some different teams coming up rather than always the same teams just yo-yoing um, up and down again. But I think it's kind of sad in a way that you see a situation like, say, Burnley have come up, they've played, tried to have played like, you know, attacking football, and some might say it's just very naive to think you can stay up in the league playing that way. But then at the same time, it's like I like that they didn't come up and it's just like, well, here's a team just parking the bus, playing for their lives and thinking we're just going to do that. So I think it's just very, very interesting now that if you have teams come up and they do try and play, not many of them end up staying up. And if they do, it's like very, very lucky, very fine margins in that sense. So I really do, yeah, I really do wonder like what we're going to see moving forward, and if clubs that are coming up prioritize like if we need to stay in this league, and just the financial benefit we can get if we can stay in is worth us taking the risk to try and stay up, or if you just do get clubs that are just like, hey, we're gonna have a sweet year but then we're going straight back down. um it's kind of like they're not moving out of house, they're just like, mum and dad, I'm just going out for a bit, but do not sell my stuff because I am coming back.
yeah. Like, there's having a gap here in the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then all right, back to work in the championship after.
That's
Yeah, yeah,
right. Yeah,
cool, cool.
exactly. Go back to where we were. I'm looking forward to it. I really like Ipswich. My parents live in Suffolk, so that's the local team.
Mm,
So I'm looking forward to seeing them up there again, and it's just nice to see a newish team that hasn't been there for a while back in Leicester. Yeah, I mean, like they're essentially a Premier League team in the Championship. So, and they've been very good to retain most of their players when they went
yeah.
down. So no problem for them. And I would like to see the Southampton return. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Southampton, so it would be good to see them back up again. But we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, we'll definitely see what happens. But yeah, no, no. I think next season it'll be good. I think. I hope.
It'll be good.
You can never be too hopeful, and this is the problem of being a Spurs fan is that it's you wouldn't wish it upon anyone really because it's a hard life, and you have so much hope and optimism that this is going to be the season that we'll finally crack it and we'll do it, and then it doesn't happen. But I'm sure there's many other teams that feel exactly the same way. But yeah, it's good. No, I think we'll be.
I always think of it like that too. Like that, yeah, there's a lot of other teams further down the table in other leagues that, further down, like in championship, like they like who would just kill to be in our position, and a lot of fans who would kill to be in our position for our club. So that's why I always try and look at it, yeah, in that balanced sense of, sure, we can be disappointed at certain things, and getting involved and caring as a fan, I think is just nice, like in whatever sense that is. So as long as you're not being toxic with it and like going after other fans for things or like spending all your time online, like trying to win arguments and debates and like, using every single second of your day to complain about the club or the chairman or anything like that. Uh, I think it's like we've got a lot that we can really, we can really be happy with. And like in my life, I don't need Spurs to win to feel fulfilled as like a human, and I don't think that's a bad thing to have as a fan. Like I'm still going to follow the team regardless of whether we win the league or not. And it's like I get it. Like winning a league would feel great. Like that would be an amazing achievement to have. But then I don't think it's like you win a league and then what? Then what after that? Like, we're even if we win one, we're not gonna win it every single season. So,
Mm,
I honestly just would love to just be able to sit down and watch Spurs play every week and kind of enjoy the football that we're playing. And even if we don't win all the time, we don't always get in Champions League, I'm fine with that. Like, I don't want another scenario where we try for, like, a Conte Mourinho anti-football. Well,
yeah,
not anti-football,
yeah,
like, but it's like it's a totally different approach going like, what's the most efficient way to win rather than like, and where it's like, we are going to attack and entertain. And if we win, I mean, I want to win, but so be it. Uh, I'm much, much happier being in the position that we are now. And I would much happier be for the rest of my life watching Spurs play attacking football and try rather than get caught up with like, shutting things down just to try and get some silverware for some banter.
but like that's how we used to be. That is absolutely how we used to be. Like
Yeah.
especially like before, like like 20 years ago or whatever. Like that is how we used to be. We used to play like really attacking football, but we would always finish 12th. But there was a real like camaraderie around the team, and there was a real passion for us, and like we've grown. We've grown so much in those 20 years. We've reached the biggest final in club football.
Mm.
We've done incredible things. Yeah, maybe like with some of the new fans who sort of wish for us to be a Man City or a Chelsea or an Arsenal. Maybe it will take some adjustment to get to the realization we're not that, but not without any significant investment. But I'm so happy watching us play. I much prefer us playing the way we're playing and losing 2-0 than like seeing us playing again where we did last season and losing 2-0. I would prefer us really going out there and putting the effort in and really trying hard to score and being attacking and just putting all this like having a plan and like sticking to it and a philosophy with sticking to it rather than last season when we didn't have that really. It was just this,
Yeah.
you know, you stay in this position, you stay in that position, and you don't ever move from that position. I don't really like that very much.
No, it's so much better now, and it's like it's real edge of your seat. Like when we go up, when we're pressing, when we're bombing forward, and then the other team get a counter, we're like, "Well, can Mickey get us out of this one?" And I think you get like exciting moments in games where you do have Van Ven like chasing down someone for 30 meters to try and get a last ditch tackle in, and it's like live by the sword, die by the sword. Like I'd much prefer us to keep doing this and yeah, I really just hope we can kick on next season and just keep playing entertaining football. Hopefully, win something, but as long as we're still entertaining, I think that would be a good place for us to go. So I think that probably covers us for today.
Yeah, I think so. It's been an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's been great. Like we've gone through quite a lot. But yeah, thank you very much, Adam, for jumping on, and we'd love to have you back for another episode
Oh,
soon.
definitely, absolutely. Whenever you want me back, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's any opportunity to talk about Tottenham, I will take it. So thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, no, we will have you back on, and we will be able to go through all facets of what's going on then. So, thank you everyone for listening and or watching, and come on, you Spurs.